What up, internet? Who you are, where you be? Where you at, where you see? Today on Pop Cult Parent, we're talking about a great movie.
We're talking about The Exorcist. What up, everybody? What is going on? Happy Cult-o-ween. It's good to be here with you. It's good to see you. Good to be on the internet again with my buddies. I am one of your hosts, Mark M.F. Jones, and this is Pop Cult Parent. You know, the podcast we talk about movies we grew up with, and I am honored to be joined by...
I had to get myself together there. This is Niels R.Y., a.k.a.
And this is Shannon, a.k.a. See, I told y'all that girl won't right.
And yeah, like I said before, we are talking about the film, the iconic masterpiece, The Exorcist, which turns 50 this year. So we thought it'd be a great piece to talk about for this episode. But yeah, I mean, Nels, you got some history for us, but we're gonna dive right into this thing. I mean, I just want to say, fellas, before we get started, like, when you talk, like, let's say this movie is in the running for greatest horror movie of all time, right?
Yes.
That's probably easy to say.
Yes.
And dare I say, when you talk about the greatest movies of all time, and this movie probably is going to come up, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I don't look. I mean, it's kind of hard to, when you talk about something like greatest movie of all time, it's kind of like saying what's like the greatest album of all time. You know, it's kind of hard to like talk about that. So you typically go into a specific category. And this is without a doubt that one of the greatest horror movies, if not the greatest horror movie of all time. And what's crazy about this, and I know you just giving context and we about to like actually talk about it, but since you opened up the door, I'm just gonna say it. What's crazy about it is this movie 50 years old and it still holds up.
It's still yo, I'm so glad. All right, let me get my soapbox out. I'm so glad you brought that up because, you know, when I watched this movie, let me just say for the record, this was the first time I saw this movie, watching it for the show. I have never seen The Exorcist before in my life. I know, Nels, you shot. I know you and me, horror, we go back and forth. I've never seen The Exorcist. Later on the episode.
How? Whatever. We'll talk about it.
Look, okay. You know what? I'll just say it now. All right. I had a chance to see this movie. I don't know exactly how old I was. Let's say I was between 9 and 12, right? I remember being at some type of like either camp out or Halloween party, right? So, you know, multiple rooms, whatever, doing different things. And they had a scary movie room. And I remember they were like, we're going to watch The Exorcist. Yeah, oh, cool. And this movie has such a lore, right? This was like a playground lore movie. Like, oh, have you guys seen The Exorcist? The Exorcist, you know? So I knew of this movie. I knew of this. I heard my parents talk about The Exorcist growing up. You know what I'm saying? So I proceed to the room, you know, the Exorcist room. And I walk in, and I won't get too graphic, but it's the scene where young Reagan has something in her hand, and she's placing it somewhere on her body, and then telling her mom to do something with that area. I noped out immediately. I was like, nope.
Of all the scenes to walk into, of all the scenes in this movie to walk into, you made the right decision, Mark. I would have took my bug right back out there.
Like, this is not that type of party. I am out.
I was like, this might be the greatest movie to some people, but I'm not gonna see it. And fellas, it was 20 plus damn near 30 years before I ever watched The Exorcist again.
You know, that makes sense. I can't fault you. I can't fault. It makes complete sense.
I just want to come with you on that journey, Mark, in solidarity. This was the first time that I watched it all the way through as well. It's, again, like you said, it's one of those that is historically, it's always talked about, if not number 1, 2, or 3, you know, best horror movies ever, this and that. And yeah, like, you know, all the things that happened, the head spinning, the floating bed, the you know, the demon or the devil itself, exorcism. Yeah. But yeah, like, I knew all the stuff, but I had never watched it from beginning to end before.
it's been parodied so much, and I brought this up hundreds of times on the podcast. Like when you watch old Looney Tunes and they parody, I don't know, White Heat, and what are the two comedians? I forget their name. The guys, the Who's on First guys, they like parody those movies and stuff. And so then when you see these things, you're like, oh, that's, oh, The Simpsons did that, whatever. And like I feel like I've seen this whole movie because it's been parodied so many times. I think one of the scary movies, I think the first 10 minutes is like the parody of The Exorcist.
Scary Movie 2. I feel like Scary Movie 2, bar for bar, is The Exorcist. It's just, which is funny because I think Leslie Nielsen is in Scary Movie 2 or 3, and he actually made a Leslie Nielsen Exorcist movie called Repossessed that had Linda Blair in it, playing a person who got repossessed.
Again?
Yeah. And I've actually seen it. This was back in the day when we were still HBO, and I had no business.
You've seen The Exorcist. Well, this is kind of like that. It's just one more time.
Yes.
One more time.
And funny because it's Leslie Nielsen. Well, I will say this was my first time watching The Exorcist the whole way through unedited. I've seen the TV The Exorcist, like what TNT would feel comfortable showing you at 10 o'clock at night.
So what did you see? Like the first 40 minutes?
A lot of throw up.
And that was
a lot of throw up. I did not see the I don't even feel comfortable saying it out loud. So I'm doing the motion to the fellas so they know what I'm talking about. I did not see that. I think this was the first time, or at least it was a repressed memory that I refused to let surface back in my head. But I was just like, oh no. And then grabbing your mom and putting her down there. Oh no. Anyways, let's get into the history.
Well,
we're gonna talk
I want to touch on that, Nels, because you were bringing up something. You were talking about how this movie still hits. And I kind of want to bring that up because when I was watching this movie, I kept having this thing of like, man, if this was remade, they would try this, they would try this. And a lot of horror movie remakes today, I feel like they're like, let's go the extra mile because like, back in the day, because the sensibilities of society, what we could get away with, and audiences today, let's really turn it up a notch, and really make it nasty. But like with this movie, it's like, no, you don't gotta even touch it. It's original serve, original recipe is exactly what we need. And so I just like, I don't know. I kept going through my mind like, man, if they redid this movie, and I'm going to touch on some things that I think they would do different, because I think the filmmaking is just completely different than it would have been today. But yeah, like I was like, man, this thing hits, and it still hits hard. Like it's still tough to watch in 2023. 50 years later, this is still a hard pill to swallow.
Yeah. This episode of Pop Cult Parent is brought to you by Black Nerd Coffee. Black Nerd Coffee was started by Elliot and Annie, two HBCU grads who became obsessed with making the perfect cup of coffee you can enjoy black, no cream or sugar. In their journey to create the perfect cup of coffee, they wanted to learn as much as they could and share that knowledge with their family, friends, and community. That desire to learn more became a delicious obsession. Over the years, they have enjoyed trying, celebrating, and sharing coffees from around the world. They believe that taking the time to make the perfect cup of coffee is an intentional and therapeutic form of self-care. I have to say, without a doubt, this is the best cup of coffee I've ever had at home, and I've been obsessed with this brand ever since. Want to check out Black Nerd Coffee yourself? Head to blacknerdcoffee.com and use the discount code POP20 to receive 20% off of any 12-ounce single origin coffee. That's POP20, POP20, for 20% off any 12-ounce single origin coffee. All right, so I'm sure there are going to be things that y'all want to talk about as I go through the history. So feel free to jump in, but let's go. As Mark shared, we are in the 5th year anniversary of The Exorcist. 1973 was when this movie came out. It was directed by I think his name is Friedkin. And funny enough, William Friedkin recently passed. Not funny. That's actually not Friedkin. But he passed away, in the year of the 50th anniversary of The Exorcist, which kind of correlates to a theme that you'll hear and when we talk about The Exorcist. So the film stars, of course, Linda Blair. Linda Blair plays Reagan. Linda Blair is very well known for this. It's considered, a scream queen. And it also stars other people. No, I'm joking. Okay. So there's Ellen Bernstein, who plays Chris, Reagan's mom.
Yeah.
She actually had an amazing career.
I want to say I think like everyone gives what's her name played Reagan a lot of credit.
Linda Blair, yeah.
As a parent now watching this, the actress playing the mom did her thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like she really like brought it up a notch. That whole like from life is great to like what's going on with my child to like help me Obi-Wan, you're my only hope. Like she's just like at her wits end. She had the little scarf and the glasses, smoking her cigarette. Like she's just like, I don't know what else to do. So I just want to give her a shout out. Like I think she really killed it. Looking back on this,
she handled her child being possessed very well. Very well. But so Ellen Bernstein, you might, if you've seen, like, you probably like have seen her in some way, shape, or form. She's been an actress for over 50 years. But probably pop cult folks will know her as she played the old version of the main actress in Interstellar. So Old Boy's daughter.
Oh man!
When he finally gets to, well, spoilers if you haven't seen the end of it.
No.
But at the end, when he sees his daughter, like the old version of his daughter, that's actually played by Ellen Bernstein. Man. So yeah, she been out here for a minute. Also, it includes Jason Miller. That was the boxer reverend pastor.
Damien,
and of course,
Father Damien.
And of course, the Exorcist himself, Max von Sydow. I didn't say his name right, but that's the best way I'm going to say it. And this man is a legend. I'm sure you may not know his name, but you know his face, you know his voice. This man has played in everything. This brother was in Shutter Island. This brother was in Minority Report. And of course, he was the voice of Zeus in Disney's Hercules. Like this, and this is a small smidget of what this brother has done. But of course, his most famous role is being the Exorcist in the 1973 movie, The Exorcist. So a couple other things. This movie had a $12 million budget, but it made over $440 million. It is the first horror movie nominated for a Best Picture award in the Oscars. And it was the highest grossing R horror movie until The Sixth Sense, which seems wrong. Doesn't that seem like that seems unbelievable that the
until The Sixth Sense?
Until The Sixth Sense.
This was the highest grossing horror movie until
The Sixth Sense.
So Aliens, Alien.
Keep going. There's many more. It doesn't seem right. It doesn't seem right, but like until The Sixth Sense, the only thing that topped it off is Sixth Sense. Now it might be like the Supernatural, like it might be the highest grossing R-rated Supernatural movie, but I'm almost certain it is the highest grossing R horror movie until The Sixth Sense, which makes me think Jaws must have came out before The Exorcist. That's the only logical explanation.
I mean, they're both the set. Yeah, I was like, dang, wow, man, that's nuts.
And then I'm like thinking Amityville Horror, but apparently, I mean, I guess it didn't hold
Poltergeist.
Poltergeist. Look, there's a few. Evil Dead 2.
Well, let's also keep it a buck that like it wasn't until recently that horror was thought of like in high regard. It was kind of niche, it's like that can't be like, make something for the teenagers to spend their money on. Like, not that people didn't respect horror, but like you didn't hear things like this where horror movies getting nominated for Oscars. You know what I mean? And like I think nowadays we hold horror in a little bit more high regard than they did back in the day. It was just that kind of like it was popcorn flicks. You know what I'm saying? Like Jason, there wasn't anything existential about Friday the 13th. It's just a guy in hockey mask killing teenagers. But then you see something like It Follows, which is trying to say something, or The Babadook, or you know what I mean? Like now horror movies kind of like they're contemporary and they play into like society and issues. So it's a little bit more interesting. Not interesting, but just high regard.
I agree and disagree at the same time. And here's my argument. I think there was a trajectory in the genre of horror movies. So I think horror movies were niche. It started off niche, and then it got like it really became its own unique like category, kind of like a Western movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then like the height of it was Exorcist. And I'll even throw out there the first Jason, the first Friday the 13th. Oh, wait, that's the same one. The first Nightmare on Elm Street. And that's what did it. When those two movies, and of course, Halloween, when those three movies came out and they made so much money with so little cost, the studios lost their mind.
Mm-hmm.
And like they typically do, they were like, okay, how can we make more money off of this?
Yeah.
And then year after year, they just made, all right, it's time for another Friday.
Let's put Jason on a boat and send him to New York.
Yeah. It's time for Jason to be in space. Like, we are going to milk this sucker out.
Guess where the leprechaun's going next? To the hood.
Yeah. Yes. Leprechaun in the Hood. That's a real movie. And so they cheapened it. Because, and it was still churning a profit. And it wasn't until, dare I say it wasn't until, what's Buddy's name, who should not touch a movie ever? M. Night Shyamalan. It wasn't until M. Night brought it back.
I mean, yeah, I feel like there has to be something that we're missing.
Blair Witch Project.
Before, I mean, that was a phenomenon. But no, I feel you. I think the Sixth Sense really because it wasn't that there was just horror. That was the movie you had to go see that summer. Yeah. It's like if you went to go see a movie, you went to go see The Sixth Sense. Everyone was talking about it. This was before spoiler warnings, and people were like, "Oh, The Sixth Sense, I haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen it on the bus. Shut up, I haven't seen it yet." You know what I'm saying? So it was definitely ingrained in the culture. And no, that makes a lot of sense, man. Yeah, they just horror is an interesting genre because it's always cheap. And it usually makes a profit, like for the most part, and then they just, like you said, they keep this wheel going, and next thing you know, it's Exorcist on the airplane, and
Yes. And speaking of that, I'm like, shout out to M. Night Shyamalan. He is like, I feel like he has the heart of Steph Curry, but like the skill set maybe of a everyday person. Because I'm like Steph Curry. Like, no matter what, he's going to pull up from like 30, 40 feet. And when he hits it. Like, Sixth Sense. I can't even think of it, but
Signs.
Say it again. Signs. Yeah, he hits it. And then, and he's like, it don't matter. I'm shooting from 40 regardless. And then, boom.
Village.
The Village. Boom. Lady in the water.
Boom. Lady in the water.
Outside the stadium. Happening.
Yeah. And then he's like, all right, maybe I need to switch my game. I'm gonna go to the lab. All right, maybe I just Last Airbender.
But I'm gonna come to his defense. He kind of got his footing back. He went back and practiced. Nice, simple fundamentals, easy layup, split. You know what I'm saying? Like, all right, you back on the board, dog. Back on the board.
I need Sam Jackson. Split. All right, there we go. We getting back there. We getting back there. I need Bruce Willis again. Unbreakable. All right, good. We getting there.
Oh
my
God. That is M. Night in a nutshell.
Perfect breakdown, Shannon. You broke down his career better than anyone I've ever heard. Perfect breakdown. All right, back to The Exorcist. So I don't know if y'all knew this, but like the director made it a point to get folks who weren't like superstars back in the 70s. Mm-hmm. But there were some people who are interested in the leading roles. So first and foremost, I don't know if y'all know this, but Father Karras, the main person who was like, yo, this is my role, I'm going to be Father Karras, was Jack Nicholson.
That's the young priest, right?
Yeah, that's the young priest. Jack Nicholson. So
man, I don't know.
Keep that in mind. I'm gonna keep going. I want y'all to have that in your head as I keep going. And then the mom, of course, y'all probably heard Audrey Hepburn was considered, but the studio or I think the director was like, nah, she's like she's Audrey Hepburn. He was like, she's too Audrey Hepburn. But the person they really wanted in the studio, the only reason they shut it down was like the studio shut it down, was Carol Burnett was going to play the mom. Can you imagine this movie with Carol Burnett as the mom and Jack Nicholson as the young
has your daughter said any languages she hasn't said before, maybe?
I can see it. That's a horror movie right there.
Father, do you want to hear the story about the little girl or something?
Yo, I'll tell you this. If Jack Nicholson was the young father, that possessed scene, instead of it lasting 1 second, it would have lasted 30 minutes. Yeah. Jack Nicholson like, why? Keep rolling.
Keep it rolling.
Keep rolling. I got you. What's his name? Is Captain Howdy. I'll be a Captain Howdy.
Nels, the scene where Father Dennis has had enough and he starts throwing haymakers. That would have been a lot longer too.
That would have been a lot longer.
Get out of her! Stomping.
Get out of her! I say.
couple good fella curb stomps. Like,
absolutely.
Oh my god!
Get out of here! You're not wanted here.
You're not wanted. Get out of her! I say. Oh my goodness! Wow. And so instead, he made The Shining. He made sure it wasn't.
Good call. Good call.
Oh, so yeah, that's a bit about the history. But one thing worth mentioning, that if you're familiar with The Exorcist at all, there's a few movies in Hollywood that the making of the movie, the lore of the making of the movie is as big as the movie itself. There is a few, and one of them is very much so is The Exorcist. The Exorcist, there is so many random things about the making of The Exorcist, but like the thing that comes along it is people think that the movie was cursed. As the director was making the movie, he believed it was cursed. Now, a lot of people think that was publicity and other stuff, but let me just name some of the things that happened for why people believe that the movie was cursed. First and foremost, the movie went over budget. That might be a curse for the studios, but for everyday Joe Smokes, we could care less. Yeah. It went $2 million over budget though, and this is 1973 money. So $2 million in 1973 is like $50 million now. So keep that in mind. So that's one. It also went 115 days over the amount of shooting it was supposed to be. So it was supposed to be 85 days of shooting, and it ended up being 200 days of shooting. Mark, maybe you can give us some insight, but how bad is that for it to have gone that much longer than what it originally?
God, that's terrible. How many? 200 and...
Yeah, it went from 85 days to 200 days.
That's like half a year or more than half a year. That's like
that's over half a year.
and that was just straight up. It just did this. Like there wasn't like a strike that like, you know, because then technically they're like, oh, technically we went over even though we couldn't film, but there wasn't even like a strike or anything like that. Sorry,
and
y'all.
This is 73, so it's not like there was a lot of special effects. Like the bed rocking, that was the bed rocking. Yeah, the cold air, they were filming in a fridge. Like imagine 200, and they filmed in chronological order. So they like the amount of the movie that they were frozen. Just imagine filming wise, like that's a month that they're every day going to the studio, being cold as hell, so you can see their breath. It's night out. So yeah, that's anyways, needless to say. But the mom, she had a fractured tailbone from when Reagan slapped her across the room after the scene that shall not be named happened. Reagan developed scoliosis from the bed rocking.
It's crazy.
And the director in the movie who died, he died in real life right after the movie came out.
Oh man, Burke, the dude Burke,
Bruce or whatever his name is. Yeah.
Yeah,
Burke.
I think it's Burke. Because I want to talk about Burke. Burke has one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie, but that's nuts, dog. And then another thing is you forgot that Linda Blair she used to hang out with Rick James. That can't be good. Like that can't be. that's a curse in and of itself. Like,
What?
I heard this randomly. Like, I haven't looked into it, but I guess like she used to just hang out with Rick James, and they used to just do drugs together.
Mark, I'm gonna just throw this out here. You didn't have to add that last part. If you hung out with Rick James, it's assumed that you did drugs. I didn't need to know. I didn't need to know the other part. Once you said she hung out with Rick James, I filled in the blanks.
You feel
I kind of got it. Yeah.
That was my first thought.
I mean, I guess she hasn't gone into detail about it, but she just like, nah, where's my boy? Like, so,
You
we
must have
seen
loved
the
the
Chappelle
Exorcist.
show.
That's the only explanation.
It's a hell of a drug.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
girl,
y'all.
you was an Exorcist? Charlie Murphy, come meet Linda Blair.
Linda Blair, the girl,
Linda
but Exorcist.
Spit in
Do
his
the
face,
bed rock,
Blair.
Linda.
Go ahead, spit in Charlie Murphy's face like you did in the movies.
Bring your head around, Linda. Do it.
Here's a cross. Do the Charlie Murphy what you did to that lady in the movie. Hey, Rick,
Charlie,
I don't
like-
think this is a good idea, man. She looking kind of sick. Oh, shut up, Charlie.
Charlie, like, I did the math. She had to be 14 when I met her. Oh God! Anyway, that's the history of the
Charlie, she a little young to be in here, right? Shut up, Charlie Murphy. Little Bear, vomit in Charlie Murphy's mouth.
Cold-blooded. That is a skit that now I must see.
But hey,
Popcorn
since you brought up Burke, man, I just want to talk. I'm gonna bring this back to Dude Burke. But this movie, man, I was like, yo, the 70s. You know what was really cool about this movie? A lot of living room smoking. A lot of chilling in the living room, lighting a cigarette in the kitchen, little smoking a coffee. I was like, all right.
The doctor giving you a diagnosis before he gives you the news. He's like, hold on.
Yeah.
He lights it up. He's like,
Well,
daughter,
my expertise.
she's a real piece of work, right? I'm like, yo, the 70s were wild, dog. Living room smoking, pastor smoking, cop smoking. I'm like, yo, this is where it's at, man.
Chris went up to the pastor, the father. What do they call father? Went up to the father and was like, "You gotta smoke." She just knew he had cigarettes.
She knew he
and
had
was
a
like,
cigarette.
Of
Course, I got to.
Of course I do.
But I'm like, I laugh at that, and I'm like, you're in your living room having a party, like you say, everybody's having a drink, a little smoke, and it's like cool, we're chilling until somebody comes downstairs and says you're gonna die and pees on your floor. Like what?
Yo, it's a party now.
Yeah.
Rick James. Oh, it's a party up in here.
I was like, when that part happened, I was like, bruh, like I don't even know what happened. Are you like, okay, y'all, party's over, y'all gotta, or do you just go back to smoking and partying after that? Like, man, that was wild. All right, you gotta
I'm going home. I don't know about y'all. I'm gonna go home. There was pee on the floor.
I think you say you'll go home, but it's the 70s.
No,
I think
what they
pee
did
on the
was
floor
they
is the
moved
least of their
party.
problems.
No, you gonna move the party somewhere else. I'm not staying in the living room where the little creepy girl came downstairs, told me I'm gonna die. I'm an astronaut. You telling me I'm about to die?
Yo,
no, I'm leaving. I don't want to be around her.
That's the thing that got me. And shout out to We Hate Movies, because they made the joke of when a little girl comes and tells you you're gonna die doing your job, that's your last day at that job. Right, so like, if I'm an astronaut, well, no more space mission for me. If any little kid tells me I'm gonna die at my job, that I could be, I work in a Target. I'm leaving Target that day. Like,
look, if I'm the astronaut, I'm leaving the party, Mark.
Yeah,
I am leaving the party, and I'm reflecting on my life.
Hey, that makes perfect sense. I'm just saying, like, I don't think the party stopped. Is all I'm saying, but I do want to talk about Burke real quick, because I love this scene. Just made me laugh so hard, fellas. They're at the party, and Burke, I guess he's the director, and so the mom's butler or helper, or whatever, I think his name's Chris or something like that. I forget his name, but he's German, So he's in the kitchen, like making cookies or whatever. I don't know. And Bert comes in there drinking, smoking, and he's like, "Yeah, you know where you from?" And he's like, "Oh, he's like, yeah, you Nazi bastard." Then they just start fighting.
No, Mark, he follows him throughout the house. And he's not really talking much. All you can decipher from what the director is saying, you're like, "You Nazi bastard."
You Nazi,
Just like
I'm
over
like,
and over again. And I think the helper brother, he had it. He was done after like the 10th time. He's like, "I don't care about this job. You can have this job. You gonna catch these hands."
He said, "I'll kill you," and he grabs him by the neck. Yo, I just for the movie that I was not expecting a scene like that, and I was like, "Yo, the '70s, little kitchen smoking, little drunk butler fighting. I mean, what a time to be alive, man."
And you know, Bert was like, I don't know, like, why did he attack me? Like, what? I don't know. Did I say something? I'm confused.
He's like,
it's like
typical
obviously
Germans.
And y'all, this is the same party that the little girl
party, yes.
comes downstairs and pees on the rug in front of the astronaut. This is the same party. Georgetown, 1973.
Oh, man. But hey, fella, I do want to say, like, never seen this movie. When the movie opens in Iraq, I was like, "Yo, am I watching the right movie? What is going on?" But it was all really nice, and like just the way this movie's made, I feel like it's just kind of quick cuts. Like we're not really giving you a lot of information, which I feel like in if this movie was remade, shot for shot, it was like, "Oh, what's this demon? What's the?" Because as far as I understand, y'all correct me, there's no real relation why Reagan gets possessed by this demon who they found his statue in Iraq, right? There's no like. It just kind of happens.
Yeah.
Right.
Thank you for saying that too, because as I was watching it, I was like, I know I missed something, and like I'm gonna look stupid because they're gonna be like, well, obviously it's connected here. But yeah, I was thinking the same. I was like, why did she get possessed? Okay.
Yeah.
Because plot.
Yeah. But I kind of appreciate it. It's like, yo, no, this is just something that happened. Like Reagan just happened to be the right kid at the right time. She did find, and I will say this movie, like, me and my wife have been kind of anti Airbnb for a while, but like this movie and Barbarian has solidified it for me. I like no more Airbnbs, dog. Cause like they rent this house in Georgetown, and then
Mark, stop. Hold on. Well, hold on. I know what you're about to do.
Oh no, hold on.
No, you're about to stop. What? Because once you're done, I'm about to be done with Airbnbs. No, as you go in this explanation. Go ahead. Listen, whatever.
Because Reagan's like, they're like, "Oh, mama, oh, we went in the city, it was so beautiful, and it's cool to establish a relationship." And she's like, "Look what I found down here, mama," and it's at a Ouija board. And she's like, "What? How do you know how to use one of those?" And like, "Let's use it, mom." I'm like, "No, bruh. My kid finds a Ouija board in the Airbnb. We are moving out right then and there. No, are you kidding me?" And then she's like, we got rats in the attic, and like the rats are like like it's like, yo, there's a freaking dog up there or something. And she's like, "Oh, darn rats." I'm like, "Yo, you are clearly in a haunted house. Get out right now."
Yeah, I would say people have too much trust in their surroundings, because like you said, if those things would have happened, you hear something in the attic. If for some reason I'm like, I don't know, the girl's like, "Oh, my bed is shaking," like something weird. I'm like, yeah, all right, I believe you. You know how to be like what? Believe women, trust women. Like the little girl said, her bed shaking and weird stuff happened. Let's go now.
Say less. Well, let me just get on my soapbox then. Here's my soapbox moment. The other title of this movie, if I was anyway involved in this movie, will be called "Not in My House." Because I would be diggity dog damn if any of this would have happened in my house. So I was reflecting. I was like, and this is what came to mind. The difference between a West African household and this household is this. If something happens to your child and ginger ale and Dimatab / Robitussin doesn't work, the very next thing they're going to do is pray the demon out of you. And I can tell you this with the utmost confidence. Before the doctor is involved, prayer will be involved. There will be a little mini exorcism at the house. So like it's crazy because like in the movie, the mom was an amazing mom, by the way. She's like, something's wrong with my child. Let me get all the best medical professionals involved to see what's going on. And then her last effort was a doctor telling her maybe exorcism will give her the shock treatment to get out of this.
Yeah.
Now, again, let me educate you on a West African household. If you cough, ginger ale, Dimettab. If you continue to cough, steam and other household stuff. But if you cough after that, Jesus. It is prayer, church, religion,
Lord, hymns, holy water,
all the above. You're getting the spirits. Like all of that is happening.
And go ahead, Nels.
And just then, maybe we might go see the doctor and see what the doctor has to say. So the orders would just be reversed. So needless to say, it'll be not in my house.
And you know, that's what I really appreciated about the first half of this movie. It's like, because we really don't get no crazy stuff until what, like maybe 40 minutes in. It's the first like bed is shaken, and it's like this whole, you know, parent trying to like help their kid and medicine and what is like the like when do we like give up on modern medicine and trust in God. And you know, I really appreciate like kind of like all that dialogue that was happening. But yeah, I'm with you, man. Like when she goes in the attic, by the way, it scared the hell out of me because I've never seen this movie. When that candle, when she's, first of all, why don't go in the attic? Like look, you don't go in an attic unless it's broad daylight and there's someone with you or directly down the stairs. Like all these like people go in the attic by themselves, I don't get it. But like she goes in the attic and you think,
and
like,
that's not her house. Anyways,
it's not her house.
Yes.
And you think something's gonna jump out, and then that candle, like the flame, like gets big. Man, took my heart. I was so scared. And like right then and there, I'm like, oh, it's time to go. Like we sleeping in a hotel or like the Hilton, the Ritz, something, because that shouldn't happen. Like, you know, and she's like, there's still rats up here. I'm like, no, lady, there is something like else going on.
But and I'm like, that's the problem. I'm like, people don't know how to be guests. Like, this is how you be a guest. Like, even though, sure, you're like, I'm paying for this, so I technically own this. No, I'm like, I'm still a guest here. And so in my mind, as a guest, it is night and there are scary sounds happening. If I cannot immediately leave, there are 2 places in the house. I'm staying in my room and I might walk out to go to the bathroom. Like, that is it. I am a guest in here. She's like, nope, I'm gonna explore this whole place.
Yeah. Let me see what's going on up here. But then, like, you know, all that with like Blair's, not Blair, Reagan's progression, and just like, man, I was like, man, this is really good. This is like, because it starts off slow. It's just like, and then even when she first goes in her mom's room, her mom wakes up. I think it was after the attic scene. Her mom wakes up and Reagan's in her bed. And she's like, "What are you doing in here?" And she's like, "My bed was shaking." And they're like, "Oh, okay," you know. And, you know, but it builds up like, no, that bed was shaking. You know what I mean? Like,
that bed gave her scoliosis. That bed was rocking.
Yeah. And I was gonna mention real quick too the pure gaslighting or mansplaining or whatever you want to call it, like by the doctor. Like she went to the doctor and she's like, the bed was shaking, and he was like, oh well, you know, that was probably a type of seizure because it happens. Like, in so many words, he pretty much said, you gonna believe me or you gonna believe your lying eyes? Like, that's basically what he said.
Yeah.
And then like, he was like, I was there, it was shaking.
and all those scenes with like, you know, I'm sure the movie's trying to do some commentary that's smarter than I can even like verbalize, but like them like looking in Reagan's head and the CAT scans and the medicines, and you know, and like we can't find anything. And yo, shout out to what's her name, the mom's like staff, like the babysitter and then like the butler, because like they hung around for the whole time. Like, dog, I'm not gonna be no hourly employee and hanging around for an exorcism. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, dog. That's what I give you. Like, no 2 weeks notice. Hey, best of luck. If anything, I'll root for you from the outside. Like, I hope it works. I hope it's going good.
Mark, there is a reason that this movie progressed the way that it did. And it's because her staff were white. Now, if she had a good old Haitian babysitter, like the actual residents of Georgetown, she had a good old Haitian babysitter, the babysitter would be like, Miss Chris, I got to tell you that child. There's something wrong in that baby. I know my baby Reagan. That is not Reagan up there. And immediately she would have called the proper authorities.
She would immediately, if she was Hispanic, she would have had one of them candles already, like in the kitchen, like
tall candles with them.
That's why we need each other, y'all. This is what Martin Luther King was talking about. The beloved community. We need each other. If there was a melanated person in that house, this movie would have been 30 minutes long. All right? That's all I'm saying. We need each other, y'all. Whatever. That's my TED Talk. The Exorcism is a prime example for why we need the beloved community, the Rainbow Coalition in America.
But it did. I love when, you know, the doctor's like, look, maybe an exorcism. Maybe Reagan thinks she's possessed. So if you do this, he'll snap her out of it. Because that's another thing. If this movie came out, and I know they've made remakes or whatever, but if like this exact movie came out now, I think they'd go about it two ways. One, they would either like really go all out with like CGI demons and spinning house, all kinds of stuff, right? They would just balls to the wall, they go crazy. The other way I think they would approach this movie is they would play it right on the border, is like, is this all in Reagan's head? You know, like no, she could just be kind of crazy. We don't know. And I think this movie, up until like the bed's really shaking, like, but if you take out like the bed shaking, it's like I feel like the movie's trying to do that, but then it gets to a point like, nope, it is demonic possession. But I appreciate that in the movie. And then when the mom goes to the priest and she's like, I need an exorcism, he's like, a what? You know, and he's like, you might know more about this than even actual priest, because I don't know, I just love that vibe that like this is the secret weapon that no one uses so much that they don't even know how to use it.
Can we talk about the exorcist himself?
Oh yeah.
Let's talk about this, brother. So like we'll skip I don't know if y'all want to talk about Iraq, but I want to skip that part. This man is in some like random country. He gets a letter. He's in Woodstock. Actually, that's where he is. He's in Woodstock. He gets a letter and he's like, all right, it's time to go to work.
Yeah, he definitely
goes to Georgetown. He comes there at night. He looks, sees the light coming from the room. He's like, I bet. Walks in, introduces himself, sees Pastor. He's like, you ready? You need a break? You ready? He hears the demonic sounds coming from the room. And he's like, all right, cool. You ready? And the dude's like, all right, well, should we talk about it? I think
what's there to talk about?
The third.
Exorcism.
Like, nah, that's a demon up there. That's a demon up there. We're going to work.
Let's go handle this.
Well, there might be like three, because I heard like 3 distinct personalities. He's like, nah, there's one. There's one. No, we know what to do. All right, you ready? You want to talk more? We about to get to work. And goes in. And this is what's crazy, because they said the last time this brother did an exorcism, it lasted a month, and he almost died.
And he almost died. And
he took care of that one in about an hour.
With no backstory. Because the dude was like, let me give you the backstory first. Like, nah, it's good. Let's do the thing.
What happened to that other exorcism?
Yeah. But I love that. He's very like, he's like, oh yeah, like I've been here, I've done that. We're gonna like, it's gonna be real. Put your big boy pants on. This is an exorcism. And he's like, I'm probably gonna die, but like we gonna handle it. Like he's like, and then even when when he comes in and the mom's like, "Would you like a little tea with a little brandy in?" He's like, "Yeah, put a little brandy in there." Like he's like, "It's gonna be a long night."
That'll be a long night.
Nels, I love. I'm skipping ahead a little bit, but I love the fact that like they take a break, like in the middle of the Exorcist. They're like, all right, let's even the demon's like, he's like, all right, everyone, let's just all take a little break. Let's go have some sandwiches or something and some Gatorade, and we'll come back and
this man is just sitting on the stairs taking a breather. He's legit just taking a breather. And you're reminded this is an old man. And other buddy is like, what in the world is going on?
Yeah.
But old man's just like, he's taking a breather. He had to take a little catnip in the bathroom, get himself together, and then went right back to it.
And I think the dynamic of the two priests is really interesting. Because like you said, you have the old priest who's like, he's been there, he's seen these things. You know, he's like an old John Wick. You know, he's been there, he's done that. And then this new guy is really having this like crisis of faith, you know, losing his mom. Does he really believe? Does he care anymore? And so then to bring them both together to do this exorcism I don't know. I was like, this is really cool. This is a really cool dynamic.
Yep.
No, definitely.
Anything else, y'all?
Yo, this is a lot.
I didn't know what to say for that, but I was just like, that is true. That is
wrap it up. Nah, but then like the makeup work, the cinematography. When they have Reagan talking to that psychiatrist and he's like, now Reagan, listen to me closely. She basically like grabs his crotch and he's like, oh my God. And he falls down, but like the camera like follows him down. I was like, yo, this is dope. This is so good.
You know what's crazy? While everyone else was in 1973, Reagan was in like 1985. Or like the demon. The way that she was like the code disses, the insults, like she was like a 1985 like stand-up comedian, like just vulgar and like just like derogatory. She was just like cold-blooded.
Yeah.
Compared to like everybody else was proper 1973. Dare I say the demon was ahead of its time.
She's like, yeah,
with this insult.
It was like, Reagan, how are you? Don't touch me, you know. Like,
yeah.
I do think like Nels, you know, you're talking about the greatest movie of all time, whatever. That scene where the old priest, where he arrives at the house and the light, that might be like one of the most iconic like movie shots of all time. Like it is just, and one of the best. It's just perfect. It's just so good. It's like there's only the lamppost and the kind of like the haze coming from the window, Reagan's room, and it's just.
And to follow that up with the opening the door and you can't see his face, you just see his shadow and him introducing himself. Like those scenes back to back is probably why it's so epic.
Yeah.
But you know what will probably be good to do is if we just talked about like the impact of this movie and like even just some things that you've seen from this. So I think this created the Exorcist, the possession genre, the subgenre of horror movies. And I'm gonna be honest, this isn't really my steez. Like I don't watch possession movies. A little too close to home. I'm West African. We believe this. So I ain't really, dabbling into it too much. But I'm almost certain that no one has done it like the first one. Like I'm pretty certain. Like there have been some good ones out here, but like I'm pretty sure that no one has ever really done it like this. Now, granted, I don't know what you would consider the first two Evil Deads. Like, I don't know if you would consider them zombie movies or possession movies. Some would argue one or the other. And if you consider it a possession movie, then it is the clear number two, because Evil Dead and what's Buddy's name who directed Evil Dead? I forgot his name.
Sam Raimi.
Sam Raimi is like, he is part of the reason that the uptick of horror during like before, the campy version, like it was prominent, was because of him. So yeah, and like, I think the last thing I'll say is we legit, like anytime someone makes fun of a horror movie or like mentions a horror movie, Exorcist is somewhere in there in some way, shape, or form, whether it's the scene or the scene of like, the father coming to the house.
Yep.
Whether it's like anytime Reagan's on the bed, strapped to the bed, and everything that they said, I've seen it in like 3 or 4 other movies.
The head spinning,
the head spinning, the throwing up of the peas.
Yeah, the pea soup is. This movie is just it's parodied. I don't know. I don't even know what the word is for it, but it's been parodied constantly, and it's crazy. Like Nels, I'm with you, man. I'm not like possession and demon. Like that's not really. I like horror, right? But like even as a kid, I didn't like movies that involved Satan because I was like, how do you win? like I know how to win, and God and go to church and Jesus, but in the movie you can't kill him. Like a monster, you could shoot a werewolf with a silver bullet, you could stab a you know what I'm saying? You can stab a vampire, you can shoot a zombie in the head, but it's like a demon, like a spirit, like well,
You're
how
like,
do I win?
Go away.
Yeah.
Go away. That's how you win. Go away.
Go away. Or you just run away. So like as a kid, that always made me uneasy. Like I remember watching End of Days and like I was like, how's Arnold gonna win? It's the devil. Like I was like, Arnold he's not God, he's not gonna beat the devil, so how's this gonna end?
And what was the movie? I think it had Denzel in it, right? Where there was like a demonic spirit, and all it had to do was like you would touch somebody's hand.
Yes.
And it would transfer, and it was like there. Not only how do you win, how do you even know where it's at? Because it's like it was here in this person, and this person just bumped into this other person, and now it's here. And you walking on the street in like New York City, everybody bumps into everybody. It's like
Fallen.
Where is it? You said what?
Fallen. That's the name of the movie.
It was Fallen.
That's a good movie too. That's a dope movie. And then when I go back and I think about Paranormal Activity, Paranormal Activity is The Exorcist, but it's a found footage movie. Like, and when they pitched that movie, they must have been like, we want to make The Exorcist, but it's like Blair Witch. How much will it cost? $1 million. Here's your money. Take it. It's crazy because it's. I'm like, yo, I'm surprised The Exorcist film didn't like sue them because like that's all it is. It's The Exorcist, but it's found footage, and like just to be such a big staple and such an easily parodied and like influenced movie. There's so many things about this movie that are just, when Father Damien, when he takes the spirit in him. And then he like turned. I was like, "Yo, Thriller,
yeah,
Michael Jackson, Thriller scene."
Yeah,
exactly.
The red jacket.
He just needed a red jacket and zombies to dance with him. No, it's just amazing the fingerprint that this movie has put on pop culture. It really. I don't know. There's a very short list of things that have like left its mark like this movie.
Yeah. Yes, especially for as long as it has, and for it to be a horror movie, and
for it to still hit, like it still hits. They don't need to punch anything up or add any gore. It's fine the way it is. It still hits hard.
Yeah. I would take away the Iraq scene in the beginning.
Really?
Yeah,
I
it definitely helped with the creepiness.
Yeah,
but like I think for the generation that's like nowadays, a lot of them would be lost by it. But I say that, and then I just think about Blumhouse. Was it Blumhouse? Blumhouse. They probably would keep it in because like Blumhouse, I really think they're like the reason like they have figured it out like this genre again is like they don't answer any questions. They just leave a lot of mystery in the horror. Yeah. And they're like, you'll figure it out. You're smart enough to figure out. And if you don't figure it out, great. That makes the movie that much better. So like it would make sense for it to stay there. But I think for folks who are like, not super versed in horror movies, they would be lost by that first part.
See, Nels, it's interesting you said that because I think if the movie came out now, there be a more clear connection to like Reagan and the Iraq scene. Like there'd be some type of like, and the guy took that statue and he was on a plane and it fell into Reagan's book bag, you know, or something like that.
Yeah, but I actually think what you said about us not knowing, like staying through the line, I think that's what they would do if they redid this movie. Is not have you figure out like playing right on the middle of whether it's an actual possession or not.
I feel like budget wise, that's just like the best thing. It's like, look, the free way to basically add to the plot, like not paying more actors or something. It's like your mind is, you know, making that connection or not making that connection, but knowing that there's something weird there. It's like, look, that was free, and you know, and it's added to the movie. It didn't cost a dime.
My little headcanon is that this demon that he, you know, the statue that he sees in Iraq, they know each other. The old father and the demon that's possessing Reagan. I feel like that's the one that almost killed him last time. Because when he comes into the house and the dude's like, "Father, do you want to hear about like the story?" Reagan is upstairs and you hear her say like Marin or something like that, and that's his name. So it's like, oh yeah, like you back, let's do it again, you know what I'm saying? So like that was my headcanon, that like he's like, oh, my old nemesis, old Cthulhu or whatever his name was, you know.
I'm pretty sure Exorcist 2 confirms that.
Oh, really?
I'm pretty sure. I'm not like 100% sure.
This is the same demon from the one that almost killed him. Okay, do you recommend Exorcist 2?
Hell no.
Okay.
It's one of the worst movies ever made.
Real okay, all right, good.
I've only seen like 3 scenes from it, and because you know, but you gotta figure out. Mind you, this is not my steez, so
yeah.
But like, I was like, oh, so is there an exorcism in this movie? And the answer is no. So like, well, so really, what are we doing? So it's not.
Yeah. The only couple more things I just want to talk about that I really appreciated. The stairs, right? The stairs are a character in itself. Have y'all been to the stairs?
Yeah.
Have you gone up them or anything?
Hell no, I ain't touching those stairs,
Okay.
Mark.
No, I've not been near those stairs. Like my relationship with the stairs is like, and that's what exorcism stairs are. I'm like, cool. I just kept walking, like I don't want anything to do with those stairs.
No, I was like, this place is already scary enough. I'm one of 3 black people here. I am frightened.
But I do
Georgetown in itself is scary.
I love how the stairs are like a character and they claim like 2 people's lives. And that detective, like I feel like if they remade this movie, that detective would have a bigger role. And I really liked what they were going there. And I thought he was going to be in the movie more, where he's interviewing the mom. He's like, look, you know, Burke didn't kill himself. You know, I think like a very strong man snapped his neck, and the last place he was in your daughter's room. So, you know, you tell me. It is very. He's like, your daughter killed Burke, and then when she closes the door after he leaves, and she like has this like realization, she's like, oh my God, my daughter killed Burke. Like, I was like, yo, is this gonna be like a little crime mystery where, you know, I don't know. I wasn't expecting that, but I was hoping he'd be in it more. But like, I thought that was just a very cool scene.
Speaking of that, so you know, obviously, like Georgetown played like a big role here, and like looking at it, like, you know, they were really on the campus, because you know how there's a lot of stuff where it would be like, okay, we might show this thing, but the rest of it is sets and stuff like that. Like, you know, even when they're walking around the city, I'm like, that is definitely a house in Georgetown, the way it's set. Did y'all know why Georgetown plays like a important sort of role, or why it repeatedly shows? Because I think it shows maybe in part 3 as well.
I thought it was just like Catholic churches, and I didn't really think too much. I thought it was just like I assumed there was like a large Catholic population in Georgetown. That's why it played a big role.
Partly, but I was gonna ask, because the author of the actual novel novel The Exorcist, he went to Georgetown. He went to Georgetown and he went to George Washington, I guess, for his grad degree. But William Blatty, I guess that's how you spell or say it, William Blatty. But yeah, so he went to Georgetown, and obviously he's the author of the book, not the director of the movie, but that was part of the thing, to have that connection. Okay. But also he played a cameo in the movie, the actual author of the book. There's a scene in there towards the beginning where the director is trying to do some scene, and I think a producer is like, is this necessary? Do we have to do this scene? But the guy who says that is the actual author of the book, The Exorcist. I think he's wearing like a big, almost like fur coat, brown coat, something.
Brown coat.
Brown coat. But yeah.
I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's also Georgetown in the book too.
Oh, it is.
It takes place in Georgetown in the book.
Yeah, that makes sense. That connection. Yeah.
It's funny when Father Dennis is going to visit his mom and he's walking in the street. I was like, man, 70s DC must have been just like 70s New York. Because you see them kids jumping on the car and like.
Oh, that was New York, Mark.
Oh, that was New York?
Yeah. So Damien, the father, he went to New York to go visit his mom. That's part of the issue. So when he was walking through, I was watching that. I was like, dang. And I was like, yep, 70s New York.
I was like 70s New York. I was like 70s DC looked just like 70s New York.
So New York was rough, man. Rough. Oh my goodness!
Yep. Oh, Damien, why you leave me here? And yo, what did y'all? I didn't understand why his mom. It seemed like she was in like a psych ward.
Yeah, eventually.
Her leg.
She
hurt her leg though.
Yeah. No. Well. Okay. So this is what happened. She wasn't able to take care of herself anymore, and so they needed to put her somewhere. And so like he couldn't afford a private like old home residence, and so like the in between was that place, which was like a like pseudo. It was like a home for women that could not take care of themselves, and it just so happens that like women who can't take care of themselves most of the time is for psychiatric reasons. So like it was an amalgamation of like psychiatric folks and like old folks and all that. And, so that's part of it, and that was actually real. Like the folks who were there, they had hidden cameras.
Wow.
Those women were actually like
only in the 70s.
Women who were in psychiatric
only in the 70s. Dog. And his uncle was like a jerk. He's like, oh, if you weren't a priest, he's like, you could take care of your mom, but hey, what are you gonna do? I was like, hey, shut up, man. You do something.
That's your sister. That's your sister. What you doing? You're like, huh? You her child. Hey, David, it's all on you. I'm going back up to the street. Terrible.
But the last thing I want to say, fellas, is I really appreciate the way the movie ends, and it's when it's all said and done. Because, the first father dies, which I don't know why he went in there alone. Like, we are together. Everyone, it never goes anywhere alone in this house, right? But he goes in there alone, and I don't know, they don't show how he died, but it's implied that, like, the demon / Reagan did something to him. And Father Damien comes in there and just starts laying waste to this. I was never seen this movie, was not expecting it. I was like, yo, what is going on?
I completely forgot about that.
Lessons to work, too.
The lessons.
He's like, look, I tried everything else, but these hands.
And with these hands.
These hands, look, I've won plenty of fights, and this is another fight. God gave me these hands for a reason.
And yo, you can tell he's stunned because like after he like hits her with the two haymakers, Reagan's like, like,
yo, Captain Howdy was like, hold up. I'm ready for this. I thought y'all were gonna pray some more.
There's rules to this. There's rules to this thing. You can't just start knocking me.
Oh my goodness. But then I'm assuming Captain Howdy was like also like, I might need to be in that body right there.
I might need to be in. But and I love he takes it. He's like, no. and he jumps out the window and goes down the stairs. When it's done and everyone's like, okay, they're going home or whatever. I do like the tone of the movie where like everyone's like, is it over? Like, it's not really like a victory. You know what I'm saying? But I do appreciate like the staff, like the babysitter. The mom's like, last chance, want to come with us? She's like, no. She's like, it's been great, but see ya. like, there's no way I'm coming with y'all like ever again. And it's like, yo, can you blame her? Like she stood by for the event, for like the main event. But like post game, postseason, that's all you, mom. Like, I'm not.
She is gonna have a great career as a secretary for a Fortune 500 business.
Yeah.
She is not going back to babysitting, to being a nanny ever again. She is gonna have a good old office job, being a pencil pusher. She ain't doing nothing near that. She won't even be a teacher. She ain't gonna be nowhere near kids.
Well lit office job where she gets home before it's dark. Like, no kids allowed in the building.
Like even in the winter months when it starts getting dark at 5 o'clock, it's like, you know what? I leave at 4:15 on those days.
It's in my contract. It's in my contract. We've talked about this.
As soon as I'm done with this cigarette, I'm getting on the.
All right, y'all. Anything else?
Nah, man. Like, I don't know. I don't know how I would feel about this movie if I saw it. I don't know. I really don't know. I think I saw it when I needed to see it. I appreciate the filmmaking aspect of it. I really, honestly, I really appreciate everything in this movie before we even get to the exorcism. Just like that whole dynamic of like being a parent and I think there's a lot of commentary there, like kids with like maybe mental health issues and being a parent, that really even translates today with like, there's a lot of commentary about like, how should we, vaccinate our kids, or are we giving our kids too much medicine, blah, blah, blah. Who can we trust? Who can we believe? So I think there's stuff relevant in there today that I just found really fascinating that I wasn't expecting from like people say, the greatest horror movie of all time.
I'm with you on that, Mark, because there was obviously all of that, but I remember there was a line that stood out to me, and it was just something they said, but I'm like, that's what we used to say. Like when she was saying, I think the mom was asking, is my daughter all right, and how do we do this thing, or she was like, what's wrong with my daughter? And the doctor was like, oh, it's nerves. So it was just like, he's got bad nerves. And I remember, I feel like that was language that we used before anyone even knew like what anxiety was and things like that. It was like, oh, this person's got bad nerves. It's like, that's why they're jittery and things like that.
Have a cigarette, Reagan.
Yeah. Like, have a cigarette. Calm your nerves. It was like, but that was, before we knew of anxiety.
Well, my expertise, bad nerves.
I'm sorry.
Smarter when
I'm sorry. Would you like a cigarette, ma'am? He lights her on. How rude of me.
But that was, but that's something too. I was like, as you mentioned that, it just makes me think of that. And I'm like, yeah, like when it came to, medicine, diagnosis and all these different things, obviously this was possession, but to say that, it just really hit home. I was like, man, like that was a term that I've just always heard used, about people. And that was, again, before we had that language of knowing what anxiety is or mental health things or, something like that, just bad nerves. And,
like I might be reading too deep into it, but I feel like the movie's trying to say like, you can't just dismiss people. And there is a cure, but you have to like really dig in there and get it. And luckily this mom had the resources to even like find that cure, you know what I mean? So I think the movie's really saying a lot. Yo, fun fact, I was just looking at this director's like work. You know what else this guy directed? Blue Chips.
With Shaq?
Yeah,
and
with
Penny?
Shaq. It was Shaq and what's his name? The coach.
Penny.
I forget the coach's name.
And Nick Nolte.
Yeah, Nick Nolte. Oh, come on, Shaq, play for me. So Exorcist.
What an eclectic director. Because he had a career before Exorcism, or The Exorcist. Like interesting guy. Hey, Mark, in case you're wondering, he was James Cameron before James Cameron. This guy was a madman. he had horrendous, like he treated his actors like dirt. That's why they had him in a freezer for half of this movie. So yeah.
I was reading on that the priest at the end who is giving Father Damien his like last like words or whatever. He wasn't getting there, so he just like slapped the shit out of him. He's like, get there, cry, get there. And he just started slapping this like a grown man, like
a grown actual father. He slapped a religious leader.
Act
for the hopes of my. And that's how we'll end this episode. Ladies and gentlemen, wow. Thanks for listening. We have a new episode every month. You can find us on all social media at Pop Cult Parent, POPCULT PARENT. You can visit us at www.popcultparent.com. Email us at popcultparent@gmail.com. Don't forget to rate us, review, and subscribe. And as always, join the cult. Peace.